So excited.
I'm so nervous.
Hello and welcome back to the only show with three guys wearing tattered Ralph Lauren clothes while driving Star Wars-themed 80s rides craving more Mandalore content. Or as we call ourselves, a man adorned and torn Lauren demanding more Lauren a Mandalorian DeLorean. I'm Max.
I'm Matt.
I'm Luke.
And this is Force for Thought. All right, hello and welcome back to Force for Thought. We just got out of the movie theater. We just saw The Mandalorian and Grogu, if you could believe it or not. So I thought, now you know what? This would be a good opportunity to talk about it. So this is not going to be a official review. I feel like we need to give it a little bit more time to marinate for us to kind of think about a couple of things. I just wanted our out-of-theater reactions, see what you guys think, initial thoughts. I, for one, absolutely loved it. I just want to get that out of the way. I think my expectations were pretty accurately calibrated to the movie itself. And right away, I just think if you are a fan of Star Wars from a purely cinema aspect and never played with Star Wars action figures as a kid, maybe you'll find faults with this movie. But I think anyone who played with Star Wars action figures as a kid will absolutely have a good time seeing this movie. I had so much fun. I thought it was a blast. I want to know what you guys thought. Matthew?
Well, first of all, we also don't have video this episode, and we are in person for the first time in like a long time to record this podcast.
So the energy is different.
So
they
the
can
energy,
feel it.
so you can feel it. It's
over-
electric.
Our over talking is more dialed in.
Yes, exactly. It's not lag. It's just annoyance for each other. I had a blast with the movie. I didn't think I had super high expectations going into it. I was kind of a little annoyed. I was excited to see Star Wars with you guys and Star Wars in the theater, but I was like, I don't think I'm gonna love this movie. But then I ended up having a blast with it, like you said, Max. Like it was like playing with action figures, and there's certain parts where I think things lose steam a little bit. But ultimately, I was like, this was so fun, and I cannot believe how cool Rotta the Hutt was.
Yeah, a surprising standout in my opinion.
Yeah.
Luke?
I'm kind of the opposite. I had sky high expectations, super let down.
Seriously?
Yeah.
How high were your expectations? What were you expecting going into it?
Who are you
I
lately?
was expecting to love it. I was not expecting a grade A cinema experience. I was expecting to come out of it like you guys did, and I'm happy for you. But in terms of just the action and adventure of it, I've gotten plenty of that from 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, and I now need a little bit more heart and or plot in my media in general. I mean, let alone movies. Like I'm tired of this whole, and I've said this before, the narrative that there's TV content and there's movie content because the gap has closed and it's all indistinguishable now. But nevertheless, I hold movies to a higher standard, even though I probably shouldn't. And I mean, I thought this was the worst 3 episodes of The Mandalorian that I just watched.
What?
I did not care for it at
crazy.
all.
Why?
You didn't care for the movie at all?
I mean, I like Star Wars. I was thinking on the drive home, I like it as much as I like Top Gun. High marks for most people, because Top Gun is a very well-received film. I don't like Top Gun because I'm not into fighter jets.
Real quick,
But
Top Gun or Top Gun Maverick?
Top Gun, because I do love Top Gun Maverick.
Okay.
Completely different. But
But you love Miles Teller.
yeah, because he's in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, like I said.
The people that like Top Gun, I'm convinced they just like fighter jets and the United States of America. That movie is not very good. And
volleyball, though.
And volleyball and shirtless Tom Cruise, like all things to like. But like as a movie, because I watched it recently, I didn't grow up watching it, and I was super disappointed with it. Also, that like the plot and the story and the heart wasn't very prevalent. Like, well, I don't want to get into Top Gun, but Goose dies and then nothing really comes of it. Tom Cruise just gets back in a fighter jet and goes and destroys some Mings.
Yes.
But whatever. This movie had no plot and no heart. I can do without one or the other. I thought that... So, this is our out-of-theater reactions, but we're getting into full spoilers, right? That was implied. We didn't
Spoilers
say
implied.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spoiler alert coming. We will. Yeah.
When Mando, quote-unquote, died and was incapacitated from the poison of the dragon snake, I turned to Matt at that point because he was sitting next to me, and I said, like, "What is this movie about?" Like, I know Mando's not dead, and we spent 15 minutes of Mando being dead in just the least emotionally effective part lull of an action movie. Completely silent, obviously, because Grogu doesn't talk, and
But we got that Bayou Gator guy.
we got the Bayou Gator guy who made up some medicine. Who, I don't know, like, I feel like every meaningful piece of dialogue was in the trailer. Not like it was spoiled for me.
Yeah.
Like, there just wasn't anything to spoil, so they just put all the parts in the trailer. Like, there could have been an interesting story about Rotta not wanting to live in Jabba the Hutt's shadow, which I thought was what the movie was going to be about in the first act, and then Rotta just kind of left and wasn't in the second act and was barely in the third act, and just as a plot device, even when he was. And so before that, I thought that the plot was going to be about the Imperial remnant and Colonel Ward's great line about it's not about revenge, it's about preventing another war, which was another trailer line that I thought would have been an interesting plot to build a movie around, and it wasn't. That never really came back up again. It just ended up being an adventure of the week, like most episodes of The Mandalorian, but without even a guiding line pointing it towards something bigger at the end of the season. Like, it was...
the through line was pretty much Rotta. Like,
Yes.
that was pretty much the only heart that we got, the only character development that we got.
A lot of it was betraying the Hutts, though. The twins, I think, was almost more of the line, right? Is that he made that gut call and he reaffirms that he's a good guy. And then I think that's because the thing, I was convinced Rotta was going to die like 3 times because in that interview with Favreau and Filoni, when they were talking about how he was in it very minimally, and then they liked Jeremy Allen White's performance so much they kept adding him in more.
Why? What was he bringing to the table that was blowing them away?
I don't know,
I don't mean to. I have a lot of things I didn't love about the movie. Jeremy Allen White's voice performance as Rotta was not something that blipped on my radar.
To me, you can hear Jeremy Allen White do his Chicago accent because I forget the planet that he's on.
Nalhada?
The
other one.
The one,
Shikari.
yeah, Shikari, which looks, by the way, and sounds, by the way, just like Chicago.
Shikari, Chicago.
It literally has
An L.
Yes, it had the L train too. Like it all literally just looked like Chicago, which is hilarious.
Where's Martin Scorsese from?
What's that?
Where's Martin Scorsese from? Chicago?
I think
seems
New York,
like a
he's
New
New York
Yorker.
guy.
Yeah.
People made a big deal. Sorry, I'm going to get way off track, but go on. With
No,
your
no,
thing.
you're-
I was just going to say,
you're
I thought Scorsese was going to be a bigger deal in it because I feel like people. That's what I assumed originally. What he was going to be was that small cameo, kind of. But then people kept talking about him, and I was like, "Oh, he's going to be a big character in this movie."
He was like 5th or 6th named on the credits in
Yes.
the beginning.
Yeah.
And I was like, he must have a large presence. But in the end, there just were no characters.
Correct. There
Yes.
were no characters.
Correct.
The first 4 build actors were all Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It was Pedro and his 2 stunt doubles.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think, again, I was going into this the entire time thinking this is going to be exactly what I think it is. And it was exactly what I thought it was. And with that in mind, it did not go below my expectations.
I think it was the best Mandalorian has been as Mandalorian. It didn't rely on any sort of past thing. It didn't rely on Luke Skywalker or Ahsoka Tano. It didn't rely on any sort of, or even like IG-11. Like, it didn't rely on any other characters besides Mando and Grogu. I mean, a little bit of Zeb, but even then, what I was gonna say is I feel like they could have cut back on the Grogu storyline. I get his independence and that him growing as a character, and you know he drives at the end.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's the movie is 2 hours and 12 minutes. Just say it's actually that length, no credits, yada yada, and just say 12 minutes is a Grogu storyline. Cut that down to like 6 minutes, and then give that other 6 minutes to like the shell around the story, like you said, Luke. Like, it did feel a little bit directionless. Besides Mando bumbling from one thing to another, which I usually am a pretty hard critic on that aspect of the show, but I enjoyed it this time around. Again, I think it was just because of my expectations. But I think it was just ultimately a lot of fun to watch. My only worry is the rewatchability in some of those scenes. Like, the Grogu section is going to be the Canto bite a little bit of this movie. I think where it's like, oh, like when I show Levi that for the first time, that's gonna be a hard sell. You know,
but that's the part with Grogu, though. You don't think a little kid's gonna enjoy that part? Like, I feel like all the kids in the audience, which there were quite a few little kids in our theater, which was both exciting but also a little traumatizing because the movie was also a lot scarier than I thought it was going to be at point.
Horrifying,
when we were talking about the trailer, I said that the white serpent, the white water serpent, was freaky, and it was definitely freakier in the theater.
Yes.
And then just because you name dropped it already, they just called it the dragon snake. And I just kind of like laughed at myself at that point. I was like, really? That's where we're going to phone it in? We're not going to give this thing a name. Like, we're introducing so many of like these deep cut vehicles and creatures and characters. I mean, we had Embo back, that little shuttle that the commander at the beginning of the film, he flies out of the AT-AT on, is like a toy that Kenner made in the 80s. As like part of the expanded universe, and it only existed as a toy, and so they made that into live action.
That.
I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
The Amani creatures that were in the water. There's a character in Jabba's palace that had an action figure, obviously, and it was called a Man-a-Man. So I'm guessing a Man-a-Man is the singular of that species, and plural is Amani. So it was cool to like see that because it was like it's a famous now action figure because it was like super rare, and it's actually like one of the most valuable action figures out there. And it was like a bunch of little stuff like that, and like the Dajaric match and everything, like seeing all of those in live action and everything. Like, it was just so much attention to like all of these creature designs and like the history of all of that. And then to just call it the dragon snake, I was like, man, all right, that's fine. But that part definitely jumped out at me. But to go off of what you said, I mean, I like the part with Grogu, though, because the movie is called The Mandalorian and Grogu. The TV show is called Mandalorian, and Grogu definitely takes a back seat. And although Mandalorian shines more than Grogu in the movie, I still appreciate that they gave him a lot of opportunity to kind of, dominate the screen in his own right, and to start passing off the torch of telling Grogu, like, okay, like the idea that they set up about Mandalorian not living forever and eventually he's going to leave Grogu behind. That is a story that they're going to need to tell at some point. So I like that they're starting to use this movie to lay that foundation. And what I hope this movie becomes is kind of like a jumping off point into, phase 2 of the Mandoverse, where phase 1 was seasons 1 through 3 in Book of Boba Fett and all that, where it's like, okay, we've clearly established Mandalorian, Grogu is his ward, Din Grogu, like, we get all that now. Now we need to move on to the next new story, and it's like, well, where do you go from there? And I said it before on podcast, Mandalorian is a human. He's going to die of natural causes in like at most 30 years, and Grogu is still going to be, relatively
At
young,
most.
especially for his species. I mean,
He could live past
think?
60.
You think he's 30 years old?
I think he's.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe
Pedro's
40?
in his 50s,
He's in his 50s?
right? Didn't we look that up beforehand?
Yeah,
I think
we
we-
have before.
Because I think Luke, you said he was 38, and I think he's definitely not 38.
But I mean, regardless, I like that aspect a lot, and I hope that that's kind of like where we start to see the characters go post this movie.
I also think Do you think this is going to be the last we see of Pedro Pascal as Mando, like physically? Like, I think you don't think so. 'Cause I feel like the helmet coming off and the battling the dragon snake felt like a good cap off, where he'll be the voice, yes. But I'm like, because I feel like they're going to want to crank some sort of show out now. Like, are they going to do season 4? Like, the one thing I'm confused about what this movie is what this movie is. Because I'm like,
Because it was nothing.
Yes, because is it the culmination of the seasons? No. Is it, like you said, is it? But I think, again, once again, there's a disconnect between audience and I think what the plan of what they're doing. Like, is there going to be a trilogy of Mando movies? Is there going to be? It just doesn't. I don't exactly know what it is. But again, I had pretty low expectations. I had a lot of fun with it on the drive home. Max and I did not talk about Star Wars, but the one thing I inceptioned you with was like, where would you rank this in your favorite Star Wars movies? And I like, for me, off the top of my head, like, I don't think it can go anywhere besides last, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just probably my least favorite Star Wars movie. And part of it is the visuals, and I finally connected it right now, like while I was in the theater watching it, and a lot of it is when you watch a normal movie, you're like, what is so different about Mandalorian? And yes, they use the volume, but a lot of things when you're watching movies, they use a lot of the physical space to direct and put things in front of the camera, but there's nothing really there because it's all the volume. And so a lot of it is you all of a sudden are in a new space and they walk into frame and then out of frame, and you then cut to a different angle and you see them coming down a different hallway. And there's a lot less directing you can do besides camera in front, on the sides, or in behind. And that's like the only thing you can really do, maybe from above. But I think that is where I realized in the theater the disconnect between some of the visuals, because like when Grogu interacted with the window going up the pipe and then inside the window, I was like, oh yeah, that felt very real. But a lot of the cuts before that was a lot of just like they're walking this way and then we cut to behind them from a different angle in a different alleyway. And I was like, oh, it's because like you can't follow anybody through in a physical space. And that just kind of hit for me while we were in the theater. And especially when you watch the prequels, how grandiose those sets were and how they use those sets. You're going behind pillars and you're using that space of like an airfield or something. Anyway, that's just something that I connected in my head while we were at the theater itself. Because I was like, oh, this is a different movie experience. As well, please, someone else talk, because then I'll talk about the audience as well, which I do want to talk about, but I don't want to take all the air out of the room.
That was a very interesting point, and that's kind of blowing my mind, and something I'm going to look at going forward. It's the kind of thing that people feel and don't recognize, and it's the exact kind of thing that I would like to bring attention to via this podcast. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to be chewing on that for a while. You're absolutely right. The more I think about it, that makes perfect sense.
I need to think more about that because I mean, that's not something that I recognized. I didn't think there was any disconnect between the visuals. I thought it looked amazing. I don't know if it was.
I thought so too. It just was.
It's not even the visuals that he's talking about. Like there were like 6 or 7 CG characters that all looked perfectly passable, and I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with that. And I thought the volume wasn't a factor. I don't even know if they used the volume as much with the production of this movie as relative to seasons or episodes of The Mandalorian, but I do recognize what you're talking about there with like, I mean, even when they're in not Chicago and they're walking like the Gladiator Arena is one thing. There's obviously no gimmicks or greeblies in the set in that area, but even when they're like on the streets and stuff, I do feel that. We need CG added characters walking incredibly right across the frame, like in 1997. We've come full circle.
Special edition.
George knew all along.
But there is something to that, though. I think honestly, where it seems more busy. Like every scene is speaking. Well, you want go off the topic for 1 second. The battle arena scene looking like the Jarek, the game, was awesome. Right? Did you guys see that? They look like
yeah, it was the same creatures.
I loved it
from the Dejark. I mean, they called it a Dejark match.
Oh, did
so
they?
it raises questions as to like,
oh my god, I'm an idiot. I'm
It's
so
several
sorry.
times.
is the game named after the type of match, or is the match? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't dislike that element of it. I do feel like sometimes Jon Favreau takes too much effort to include legacy elements in his stuff, and sometimes it's like something a little bit more subtle, like Mando having the pulse rifle from Boba Fett's animated holiday special. And then sometimes now it's been 6 years or 7 years from that, and we need to start including really every little detail from Star Wars. And it's like the board game. They're actually real, and they're all here. And we have that. I won't call it overly gratuitous, because most people probably won't be bothered by it. But when the one monster picks up the other one and slams him down, just like they do in the game.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, yeah, gotta have that scene if you're having all these Dejark characters here.
Yeah, Jon Favreau pays a lot of attention to the legacy stuff, and I feel like Dave Filoni, man, he is just the most stubborn bastard in Hollywood, where he just cares about his own stuff. Because he famously introduced Rotta the Hutt in the Clone Wars movie, and he thought like, oh, I'm going to make like a baby Hutt. It's going to be so cute. Like he thought that this was going to be the Grogu before Grogu, and it just did not catch. And now we are here almost 20 years later, and he's just like, nope, I'm bringing him back to make sure that everyone knows that this is the same character. We will include a picture of him from the Clone Wars era connecting him to this film.
This was a good idea.
Because as soon as they talked about Rotta, you're like, do you have a picture of him? And they were like, yes, but it's a little old. As soon as they said that, I was like, God damn it, Dave. He's going to do it, isn't he?
That's so funny.
That's hilarious.
The biggest problem I had with the movie, which we talked about out of the theater, was the theater experience itself. I loved seeing Star Wars on the big screen. I loved we went to they had like a bunch of stuff around the theater. We got our popcorn buckets, which I don't entertain, but I'm excited to have my son to be able to like eat out of that bucket and stuff. He'll be so excited to see Grogu. But we had like a fun experience around it, right? And there's a lot of people, a lot of families there, which again I kind of feel bad for those parents because it was spookier than I thought. But then no one was excited. Like no one hooted or hollered or cheered or like.
Yep,
I
just
feel like
us.
We tried to get some clapping going for the title card.
Yes, not many people joined.
Not many people. There were some, though. You can tell that there were people that wanted to.
Yes, and it was a pretty packed theater.
It was.
It was full, yeah.
I feel like there was good reactions, though, because it was very enlightening watching that with a crowded theater, just to hear how many and how hard people laughed at every single cute Grogu moment, Like when you're watching it in your basement by yourself, it's probably easy to get jaded to that and just being like, okay, there's the obligatory shot of Grogu looking cute. But then you hear it with other people and you're just like, man, they are just eating this shit up. They love this. And then it makes you love it because you're like, you're right. He is cute. This is wonderful. But I just imagine like as everyone's like howling in the theater, which I was at multiple times, it was actually a surprisingly funny movie. I imagine Dave and John are also watching it in the theater, laughing equally as hard, just going, this shit is so easy. These people are eating it up. They love it. Look, they're still doing it.
Bring the Razor Crest back. Grogu gets his bed and jumps on it.
The bed jumping was great. The best.
I laughed hardest at the bed jumping, I think.
My favorite part, I don't want to say the movie, but the funniest part that was so unnecessary, that had such a long shot, was one of the Inzelans saying, big tunnel.
Big fight.
Yeah, I laughed the hardest at that too, I think.
What?
Because it was such a long pause, too. Like you were waiting for something and just big tunnel.
Yeah, it was so...
Did you guys catch, because we didn't quite finish our series rewatching Mandalorian, but
3 episodes in?
I think it was the last episode that we did. We talked about it was the episode with the foundling, and there was that training sequence at the beginning, and the training method that the kid uses with Grogu was when they wore the little gauntlets and they were shooting each other with the paintballs, and that was the same gauntlet that he used in the tunnel.
Yep.
And as soon as I put that together, I was like, oh, that made the entire rewatch worth it for me.
That is true, and then that animal that gets the green paint on its eyes then gets just blasted later on. They killed like 3 animals in this. I mean, obviously they're CG, but they like just blast them away. Like, I feel bad for the kids who like the parents have to then go and explain that to be like, oh yeah, they murdered that animal pretty hard.
Stuff dies. Kids know what they're getting into with this movie.
Hold on real quick. Before we go on, I am getting the signal from the producer, which means that we have to take a quick break for today's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Hot Dog Tracker. Are you tired of recalling your favorite hot dogs from memory? Are you still using paper notes to remember what amazing condiment combination was on that glizzy from 4 months ago? Are you constantly running out of paper and valuable ink from printing off all your hot dog pictures? That's where the Hot Dog Tracker app can help. Hot Dog Tracker provides an all-in-one end-user experience to document, rank, and photograph all your favorite frankfurters. For an app that does exactly what it sounds like, this thing comes loaded with features. The app contains a stopwatch to time exactly how long it takes to guzzle an entire meat missile, as well as document the exact time of day it was consumed. Speaking from experience, nothing makes you question your life decisions more than wondering why you sucked down a pack of dollars at 10:30 in the morning 8 months ago. Seriously, it wasn't even the 4th of July. So whether you're a tube steak enthusiast or in a casual competition with your fat-ass brothers to see who eats the most hot dogs in a year, Hot Dog Tracker is here to help. Hot Dog Tracker. It's a real app.
I can't believe you saved that for this episode and not any sort of bullshit season 3 Mandalorian.
Thank you, Hot Dog Tracker, for the sponsorship. We appreciate it.
What show is that from? Where do they make a hot dog? Oh, it's Silicon Valley, right? They make a hot dog
Yes.
app.
It detects whether something's a hot dog or not.
Yes, but then it's just used for penises, I think, right? Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, sorry. I cut you off there, Luke. What were you saying?
I I was going to talk about the humor, how there were several parts where I laughed out loud, but it's not funny enough for me to think of it as a funny movie. And it's not good enough for me to think of it as a good movie. Like when people ask me what I thought of it, like if it was a little bit more funny, I could at least say it's really funny. I don't know what I'm going to say when I get home and my wife asks me what I thought after seeing how excited I was for it for months. I thought now that it's here, I am satisfied with the marketing. We talked a lot about the marketing for the last 6 months and how I was so worried that it wouldn't take off. It did. They marketed this movie appropriately, and I think if it does poorly, it is more reflectant on the quality of the movie.
Yeah, so there's a couple different aspects to that, right? One is the business decision, because clearly there isn't like a great plan in place as far as what they're going to do with these characters in the show. They did 2 series, then they had this crossover with Book of Boba Fett, then they came back for a 3rd season, now they're doing a movie, and now it's going to come back for a 4th season. Like, it's just kind of all over the place. From a business perspective, they're clearly just trying to prime the pump to get people back in theaters. They're just using this. Even if it loses money, they're going to say, okay, that's fine. We just need people to remember that Star Wars is back in theaters so that we can start really pushing our next project, which is Starfighter, which I feel like they're really going to make a big push for. And maybe that'll have higher stakes, and maybe that'll have crossover with other shows and stuff like that.
I don't need higher stakes or a crossover. Just a story would be plenty for me.
Well, I think that one will be a story, because this one too, it's like, yeah, I think they marketed it appropriately for what it is, because again, it is just exactly what you think it is. I mean, if somebody asks me like, oh, what did you think of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? I would say it's just as good as the Mandalorian show. Do you like the Mandalorian show? I think you'll like the movie.
The Mandalorian show is so good. We just rewatched it. How are you?
It is good. This is good too. I think this is just as good.
I think this is the worst.
I mean, the Mandalorian
episode.
season 3 concluded the Mando and Grogu storyline, which was like the entire heart of the show. So it's like, yes, they didn't really introduce that. They kind of had like this nice little subplot with Rotta the Hutt and this kind of quickly thrown together plot of Grogu having to stand up for Din Djarin. Because like Din said, the old take care of the young, and then the young take care of the old. This is the way. And so it's like, that's what this is. It's like just kind of like the starting of kind of handing that off. And it's like, yeah, that wasn't like very prevalent throughout the entire movie. And I'm not going to argue with that. Like, there isn't really a whole lot of emotional stakes. There isn't really a whole lot of heart. But I wasn't really expecting it to begin with. I was just expecting a really fun action adventure. And I feel like that's exactly what we got.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of different set pieces. Because the thing I asked Max earlier is like, is it better to have a bad Star Wars movie or show, or a totally inoffensive one? And I think this is totally inoffensive. But also it's not bad because it doesn't. There is no stakes, but I think ultimately I saw a review and people are so divided on this. It's got a pretty low score on Metacritic and IMDb so far, yada yada. But the review that stuck with me the most is, and this relates to the 3 of us specifically, is that so I was gonna make a joke. I'm like, I'm not. It's not even worth it. We're talking Star Wars. It's serious. Esquire had the article that was saying that this is the perfect movie for like these kind of like depressing times we're living in, which that could be almost any time, but like depressing times we're living in, it's just like a fun action movie that is like meant for dads, so you can relate to having a kid like that's Grogu's age that you want to be able to like, that is like getting older and you want to be able to train but you're still close, and it's like to me it is like just a fun action adventure dad movie. I feel weird about it because I'm pretty pro Star Wars being very sacred and limited in releases, and I'm 1000% on the Max train in the idea that every show should be animated now after Maul. Like, that just bulks up the universe, but then we get these amazing movies along the way. So in one regard, I thought this movie was way better than I thought because I had so much fun with it. There was moments where it dips down. It didn't start to me amazing. The action sequence is good, but I was like, oh, this movie should start when he's going to the Hutts already. Like, to me, the movie honestly could have been a bit shorter. But I also feel like, and on the tail end of that, on the flip side, is like, I also do want Star Wars to kind of be like just kind of sacred in theaters a little bit too, so you can have that experience. But I don't really know where I'm trying to say, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun experience watching with you guys too, and get a Grogu popcorn bucket for like what felt like $100.
The idea of Star Wars being sacred in theaters, I think, is also a dead idea now that we
I
have
think so too.
streaming and everyone's home theater is up to the same quality as a movie theater, and audience, what's the word I'm trying to say? Cooperation or compassion for fellow audience members. Like, it's just resentment.
There was a man on
between us
Discord.
and everyone else.
Did you see that guy, by the way? There was a guy in front of us. Luke pointed him out right before the movie started because he had a screen on full blast. But then the entire movie, he was on Discord.
He was, you're not even text. Yeah,
No.
that bothered me especially.
Yes. Like, he's doing nothing with his life right now.
But yeah, the idea that keeping Star Wars special and in theaters, I don't know, maybe I'll be proven wrong one day, but I can't remember the last time I was like particularly excited to see a movie in theaters. Maybe the last Spider-Man movie, probably that was 2022.
You know, maybe I'm going to take back what I just said because I like the idea of Star Wars being sacred in theaters, but at the same time, when we went today, it was exactly what I wanted to have in a movie experience for Star Wars. We went there early. We got the popcorn buckets. There was the 501st was there. We saw droids and Jawas, and we saw there was like a community aspect to it, and things were dressed up for it and stuff. And I was like, maybe that is the experience that I want. That's perfect. That was perfect.
Yeah. We talked to I talked to a few different people about Star Wars, and it's nice having a common interest and seeing what people actually think about Star Wars outside of just online. And like, they were more, for the most part, pretty chill, and they like Star Wars, and it's fun talking to people like that.
And then a kid doxed us for liking animation and him not.
Yeah, afterwards we saw this kid and we were like, oh, did you just see it? Did you like it? And he was like, yeah, it was awesome. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And we were like talking like, oh, what else do you like? Like, did you like Zeb? And he was like, I don't really like the animation stuff. And we're like 20 years older than him, so we're just like,
All right.
Feels bad when you're talking to a kid, and even the kid's like, oh yeah, I don't like the animation.
I was like, well, clearly this kid will like Zeb because I'm trying to get anybody excited about it. Zeb in live action was awesome.
Yeah,
Was
he?
he?
Looked great.
Yes, he had a cool bomber jacket. He had his pilot outfit.
He had a cool leather jacket
As
at one
soon as
point.
he changed outfits, Matt made an audible noise of pleasure.
I did.
It was something like that. Everyone knew. They're like, oh, this guy likes it.
I did like his duster.
Yes, this is awesome. Zeb was sweet in live action. You didn't think so?
I mean, just like every other character in the movie, he didn't have any character development or decision making or relationship building. Like, his relationship with Din Djarin, I was surprised to see it was so well established in the beginning.
Yes.
And then it didn't expand or change or anything.
That's where I feel like the other 6 minutes could be taken away from Grogu doing a solo mission and getting bulking this up, because Zeb also does kind of deserve that. Like, I know a joke about Zeb and yada yada, but like, he was a great character in Rebels, and then I feel like for some reason he's the only one who hasn't been getting any sort of attention from the Ahsoka show. And I was like, if there's going to be an after credit scene, I assumed it was going to be with Zeb leading into the Ahsoka season 2 stuff. But I just feel like having said that, Zeb and Rotta the Hutt might be my new favorite combo. So I'm not going to shut up about Zeb because I love that combo.
If you had described to me a lot of the visuals that I had seen in this movie beforehand, I would be like, I don't even know what that looks like. Like the Hutt fight. Every time Rotta was on screen, really, I was just like, oh, didn't know Hutt's moving that way. That blew my mind.
When they were slugging out of the tunnels, I was like, whoa.
Yes. It started with that, and then it's like seeing him in the fighting pit and like the way he moved and like spun and just like, I don't know, like he would like kind of like crawl like a snake a little bit, like kind of like you see Jabba do. And it's like, okay, that's kind of what you expect. But then they also use their arms to pull themselves along, and they also roll around and barrel rolls. Like, it was just like, I've never thought this much about how Hutts move, and it is blowing my mind. And then at the end, they had the fight where he was fighting the twins, and it's like they were all just intertwined with each other. And I was like, I feel like I'm watching a Michael Bay Transformers film where it's just like so much on screen, and I'm just like, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now.
A Transformers film.
They're good.
Pinkies up, pinkies up.
Pinkies up. oh, I'm sorry, man. A movie.
I agree. The
Transformers can't be cinema.
a lot of the action kind of glazed by my eyes because I've grown accustomed to. I mean, I've seen all of it. I feel like they can't surprise me with action at this level. Lightsaber fights are a different story, but when it's just more of Din Djarin getting those 2 swords from some random place yet again, and then having a fight with whomever. I don't know, the action. I've just never been that big of a fan of. I say this just after singing my praises to the Transformers movies. I've never been that big of a fan of action movies because
Your favorite franchises are like Transformers, Pirates of the Caribbean.
is because I like the heart. For action, I can play video games, and you can't beat the action in video games because you are the action. It's completely immersive.
Yes, you
it's
can,
not even
because
close.
No, it's not immersive because in video games you can only do like a handful of moves and they're all the same thing. When you see it on TV, I completely disagree with all of what you just said. I feel like they completely blew my socks off with the amount of diversity that they brought to the action sequences. Every single thing, I was like, wow, that is new. I've never seen that before. A human versus a Hutt fight. When Din Djarin was in the pit with Rotta, and then they had to team up, and then they were fighting all the monsters. Like, there was like so many different elements where I was just like, what does that monster do? How does that thing attack? How's that going to work out? The entire fight sequence between Din Djarin versus the dragon snake. It hurts to say that every single time, but
don't worry, I'm sure we'll get like retcon name wise.
I hope it does. But like that entire sequence, I was like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
I agree. The dragon snake scene.
And Embo, we haven't talked about Embo yet. All of the action with Embo was amazing. I think that's some of the best on-screen bounty hunting we've seen before. I mean, the combination or the matchup between Embo and Mandalorian was amazing.
I agree, and I think the nighttime rain was so spooky as well. But the thing I liked about Embo the best was the fact that he just lured Mando out of his house.
Yeah,
he
he's
fell
not
for
he's
it.
not a dummy.
He was so smart.
He's a good bounty hunter.
Yep.
He laid a trap. He got Mando out, and then he did it. And like just like I don't know the little things. Like Mando was like onto him, and then he kind of blew up his own roof, which I was like, is that worth it? You know what I mean?
Insurance.
But I was like, oh man. But then he did that, and like just the way that Embo fell through the roof with his head down to deflect all of the blaster fire. And then he just runs out. I don't know. The way he runs is like freaky.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. Like it was crazy. And then they got like obviously threw down at the Hutt Palace later.
Also, Embo's ship looking like his hat is so.
I love that.
So funny.
Has that been established? Was that in the Clone Wars?
I do
Was it?
not
I was trying to
remember that.
think. I don't know.
I
Because
love
Embo was
that.
in multiple episodes.
I just loved how so on the nose things were. Like the Chicago stuff was so funny to me, and then his ship looking exactly like his hat. It was so good. But then also it was freaky. Like, you know how like a villain has like a different type of ship? Like, so inside, of course, his like command center is like on a rig so he can get dropped down. I was like, oh, of course, that's like a spooky.
That was cool.
Yeah, spooky thing. Like there was those intricacies that I really enjoyed that I stuck onto. The action, Luke, real quick, did hurt my eyes a couple times because they're going so fast to make it not look like it's the volume or CG. Like when Rotta the Hutt is driving, which was insane to see, and I want that action figure. Rotta the Hutt in car.
He pulled out the seat. That was awesome.
Yeah, and then he just like, slithered in like a turd going in a toilet, and then he just like took off. But like in that scene, I was like, wow, my eyes cannot comprehend what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Because it's like nuts.
I'm not mad that they cut here because I don't need to see it, but boy, 3 years of Force for Thought really just piqued my interest when they caught Rotta at the end and Zeb pulled up in the Razor Crest, and then they cut to Rotta being in a little hammock. I was like, no. How'd we do this?
They do the
exact same thing.
Anytime Rotta is in a ship, they just cut to him being in the ship. Like when they're like, all right, see you later. And then they cut, and then he's like waving goodbye in the ship like a princess. And I was like, well, let's see him slither in there. Like, it's
Slither in there. Oh gosh,
I agree, Luke.
It was so good. There's a Star Wars board game that we play a lot called Outer Rim, and in it you can encounter 4 different factions: the Rebellion, the Empire, the Hutts, and the Syndicates. And for some reason, all I'm thinking about now is how all 4 of those factions have been so well represented on the big screen, because obviously this movie got into the Hutts, Solo got into the Syndicates, and in Rogue One and all the Star Wars movies you got the Empire and Rebels. And I'm just like, wow, they knocked it all out of the park. I mean, I feel like I got a slice of everything in Star Wars now.
I really like this franchise.
It's a good franchise.
Going back to the Dragon Snake, people always talk about the value of seeing movies on the biggest screen possible, and I've never really gotten that. I generally have the same feeling watching a show on the biggest screen possible or on my phone while I'm pooping. Like, I get it in theory, the immersion, but I've never really felt it except for the dragon snake scene. And maybe that's also part of the reason why I don't like this movie that much, because that was the most like emotion I felt, good or bad or anything, during that scene. Like, that was genuinely scary, and I don't like that feeling. I don't like scary movies. I don't like jump scares. I was genuinely horrified. I ran to the bathroom, which it's always a bummer having to do, especially during a Star Wars movie. But I wasn't that bummed to miss really a couple minutes of probably nothing. Like, I did miss 2 minutes, and I came back in, and I feel like I missed absolutely nothing.
You did miss two things that you commented on later on that it took me until the car ride home to realize you missed those moments.
What?
One of them was Dave Filoni. When you're like, well, we know which scene Dave Filoni directed. I was like, oh, Luke. Max point out you missed the first cameo of Dave Filoni.
Oh, he was in it also when they get back.
And then the second one,
2 cameos,
was. Which Sigourney Weaver does relay this information twice, basically. It was some lore dump, like Rotta the Hutt. I felt like you could also tell they wrote that in because he basically says the same thing twice. The first...
I think he says it more than that. I feel like the only lines of dialogue Rotta has is very obvious.
I live
exposition.
in the shadow. Yes.
He's like, I don't want to be my father.
Yes.
I'm free tomorrow.
Yes.
And the twins just want to kill me.
Exactly. But the Sigourney Weaver, when you missed, she's like, oh, yeah, like Coin is... the Hutts are playing both sides, and they're taking money from us and Coin, basically. Mm-hmm. And so then they say that later on, and then I think
they actually were only playing the Imperial side. That was like a twist then at the end. That
they said that earlier, and you looked at me like and then I was like, oh, they already said that information though, but you missed it. You missed the two things that you mentioned, like in that regard.
That is
Sarah. Anyway, you went to the bathroom and you missed the snake.
Yeah, I went to the bathroom and it's not a problem. But thank God, because I absolutely would have peed my pants during that dragon snake scene if I had a full bladder. If you're into jump scares and scary, thrilling parts of action, which I typically am not, and this was no exception. That creature was horrifying. That scene was very scary. I did not care for it. That's not to say it wasn't well done, and I won't disagree with anyone that says it's good and they liked it, but not my cup of tea there.
I think Din Djarin was a great fighter in this movie. And to me, it doesn't make sense, obviously, story-wise, that like this, if you could skip season 3, basically, I feel like, and watch season 2, and it would make more sense of who Din Djarin is as a character in certain regards, besides, his arc in season 3, and then the fact that Grogu's back with him. But he did mess up during that fight where I was like, oh, hell yeah, he's going to stab the snake dragon in the head with the spear. Like, he's got the spear, is going to go, and this is going to be the kill. He just jumps on the thing and just falls straight off. And I was like, that was the dumb decision that you made right there, my friend. Like,
snakes have all neck and a little bit of head, and he just went for some of the neck.
Yes, yeah. The rest of the movie, though, he was a good fighter, which I was super glad to see. Especially with Embo.
Yeah, they did not rely on him just tanking a bunch of shots in the Beskar.
He was an almost an uncharacteristically good fighter.
Yes.
In the beginning, especially when
He's been having a lot of practice.
They were really hyping up this warlord, I thought, to be part of the movie, which he ended up not being, but whatever.
Mr. Salt?
Yeah. No.
Oh, not Coin?
The very first one in the snow planet.
Yeah.
And he was like making a big deal about how well fortified they are and how effective his protection is. And then Mando starts showing up, and I'm like, ooh, he's gonna start. I'm just like, oh shit, he's already outside. Like he already got through everything.
Yeah.
The salt reminded me. I really like that whole scene. I like when the guy gave him that rock of salt and he was like, oh, this is valuable here because it's rationed or whatever. And then as he's walking out, he just takes it and he just dumps it in the Itachi's glass. I was like, I even turned to you at that part and I was like, that's so badass. He said that was worth a small fortune on that planet.
Yes, it's just dissolving now.
Because it's also salt. So it's like, you've dissolved it. Yeah, so it's like, now no one gets it because you don't need it. But also, you just ruined that guy's drink too. Like, there's levels to that. I'm like, oh, that is such a badass move right there.
That Itachi guy, so spooky. He gets his horn cut off, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. And then I love a good, like, a la Batman the Animated Series Tommy gun sequence. And then when they turn the board a solid blue so you can't see behind it, and then Mando hits it down, and then all of a sudden the Itachi's behind it and just like blasts them like a Tommy gun, like it's 1920. I love that. I thought that was so fun. That was so just adventure of the week.
The entire movie was. I can't believe that Luke is not
in
coming
that
in on
in
this.
that same scene when the Itachi holds up Mando by the throat and Mando flamethrowers him, wasn't that in the trailer? And the Itachi kind of tanked it because they're fire resistant. Am I making that up? I probably am, because that happened also in Mando season 1 with the Devaronian, and they are definitely fire resistant.
I think
Never
it's
mind.
the Devaronian.
I'm thinking
It's
of
the
that.
Devaronian,
I'm
yes.
thinking of that. Go ahead and cut that. Cut
Yeah,
that.
that would have blown my mind. I was like, no, that's not. I don't think that's correct. But yes, the Devaronian. Good call, Luke.
Yeah, we can just cut that. But overall, I mean, it's almost unfair to compare it to the other Star Wars movie. It's like the Clone Wars movie. Like that was a movie, but we never even discuss it when we talk about our favorite movies or Star Wars movies in general. I think this is on par with that.
I guess we're gonna have to then moving forward.
What?
Include it in our conversations. If you think that this is on par with the Clone Wars animated movie,
Well, I think the Clone Wars
I think
animated
this is
movie
better than that, but-
the Clone Wars animated movie just set up the series, right? So you're just like, here you go now, right? And so I feel like, because that was also one of those that movie, if I'm remembering it right, and it was I don't know, I mean that was like a movie that was going to be on TV, right? That they were like, we're going to do a limited release for.
It was a full theatrical release, I believe.
I remember seeing it in theaters, but I remember being like, what? Like at the time,
It did not hit.
No, it didn't, because I think it just felt odd, and yeah, it didn't make any sense because you had the original Clone Wars series on for a couple of years before that, and then this randomly came out with a new style, and then you're like, oh, there's going to be a show now after this, but it all takes place during basically a battle, and you're like, oh, interesting. It's like the Clone War at that point, and then the show just takes it to a whole different level, which makes much more sense.
yeah.
And it's hard to watch Revenge of the Sith and then go to the Clone Wars.
Yes.
As a person,
early Clone Wars.
Yes, to be like, oh, okay. The last thing I saw in theaters 3 years ago was Revenge of the Sith, and this is vastly different than that.
It's not really fair. The animation style, it was just they were developing it in real time, and it did not look good in the beginning. But they got there. But yeah, this movie, I think it should be compared to other episodes of The Mandalorian, which it's also worse than. I think it is going to do a disservice to the narrative to compare it to other Star Wars movies.
Oh, that is crazy.
But it is a Star Wars movie, right? So in
It
one
is.
regard, you have to, which is unfortunate, because if you're looking at, like, again, this is probably just my least favorite Star Wars movie. I don't see how it can't be in a weird way. Right, Max? What do you? I mean, this is clearly Luke's least favorite. It has to be mine, just because
I need to let it simmer for a little bit.
But if you had to say off the top of your head right now, like, what would you say? Again, I'm gonna let it simmer. I'm gonna go see it again. But like, if right now, the top of your, like, what is your gut instinct telling you for, like, out of the movies we have currently?
What is it? It's either this or The Rise of Skywalker. What are you thinking in your head? Phantom Menace?
Yeah, either Rise of Skywalker, Phantom Menace, or Attack of the Clones. Those are my bottom three, so it's going to be somewhere in
Phantom
in there.
is so good. Like, looking at the Darth Maul scenes and stuff.
You don't gotta convince
You have
us.
so much lore, and I love Watto.
They all provide something different, though. Like,
They do.
yes,
They all
the
provide
Phantom Menace
something.
expands the galaxy like crazy, provides some crazy lore background, introduces Darth Maul, it does all this stuff, but it's also like 30 minutes worth of fun action in a 2.5-hour movie about trade disputes, whereas this movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes worth of great action with 2 minutes of plot.
Yeah, I think we need to. The biggest tell for me is in a year and a half, when this is going to be out and time has passed and I've seen it a handful of times, is when I'm sick. What movie am I going to put on? Like, when I'm sick, Rise of Skywalker is still a fun romp because it is.
There's a lot to love in it.
To me, it's like people say it's bad, and it's bad for, like, the conclusion of a Skywalker saga, sure, but like it's to me it's inoffensive because it is just a fun space adventure with people. Again, I don't think it concludes things necessarily in an amazing way, but it's like a fun movie to watch, and it's like spooky at times. And
I like The Rise of Skywalker. I don't think it's fair to call it inoffensive. I think that is a very clearly offensive movie to a lot of different crowds.
Yeah.
Like the people that really liked The Last Jedi, the people that really didn't like The Last
That's
Jedi.
true.
Like,
Yeah, that's a good
I
point.
think The Mandalorian and Grogu is very inoffensive, and where, like, maybe, like, it doesn't do anything wrong like The Rise of Skywalker does things wrong at times. It doesn't do anything particularly right. Like, it doesn't have anything that I really liked in this movie. Like, there's not a single scene that I would go back and rewatch, like, oh, this character or this
Damn, you
scene
were blown
was
away
great.
by Rotta? how like I just
He
not
wasn't in
expect
it. He was in like 4 scenes in the first act, and then he left, and then was being tortured.
I feel like he was in so much more than I thought, because he was like, we visit him in the jail cell, we see him fight for the first time, then we see him fight with Mando, then the escape scene, and then he's in the truck thing, and then they are spying. He's slithering over there on the lookout, and then they make the escape with Coin. He was in it quite a bit. He does disappear, to be fair. Yes, you're right.
The escape with Coin, seeing him, because that was also a trailer shot, seeing Mando and Grogu in the sand there, looking through their
yes, but we didn't see Rotta.
rangefinder. We didn't see Rotta or Zeb, and they both looked so silly there. Like, not illusion breaking or anything, just silly.
You're like, that's
this
a slug.
This is accurate to the world that we're experiencing right now. There are people that look like this in this situation, and it looked hilarious.
There's the biggest thing you've ever seen and the smallest thing you've ever seen on a dune looking out.
Yes.
I think what I like so much about Rotta is I just assumed because he was jacked in a hut, he's gonna be bad, right? And there's something about myself that I was just like, oh, like this stupid biases that like
Big people are nice too.
It's just like kind of, honestly. It's just like this. I don't know. It's just like I just thought he was going to be a bad guy that was fighting. Like wanted all the fame for other reasons, but ended up being some sort of emotional depth to it. And like him playing with Grogu was great in the water.
That was awesome.
Like just like that scene of just like I think. When you watch the Clone Wars and you see Rotta the Hutt, I was just like that. He grows into this whole different thing, which is like escaping his dad, but also just being his own person. I think is like was so interesting, like something on an emotional journey I did not expect to take tonight whatsoever.
Yeah, the movie was really a commentary on subconscious biases. I agree. This was a very
talk about plot.
Yeah, they started
of all the things Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were like, okay, hold on, they don't like the movie because it was too political. What the fuck?
There's no way anyone is taking any sort of political bias out of this movie. It was the most
straight edge, straight line, middle. Yeah, there was
dull blade.
Yeah. It was, in that regard, it was right. It's it's inoffensible in a way, right? Like it's not.
It is a very inoffensive movie.
But that's the problem I think with like the Star Wars fandom sometimes, which we talk about all the time. Is like Last Jedi, massive swing. I don't know if I like that movie, but I don't know if it was the correct one coming off of Force Awakens. Like realistically, right? Have that plan, tell that full story. But then that was a huge swing, and obviously everyone reacted so badly to that. And then now I feel like you have kind of the most inoffensive version of this, where you're like, it's just a fun story. But then at the same time, you have like these little nuggets of like Rotta the Hutt, and it's cool to see the battle droids and stuff too.
Yeah, we never talked about the battle droids.
Yeah.
It was super cool seeing them.
Awesome.
They all looked great.
Discolored, and they're wearing weird fur and stuff. Awesome.
Makes sense that they use droids in hindsight because they basically genocided like that entire planet. So I was like, okay, this makes sense now that there's no organics here.
There's nothing there.
I agree. Rotta was probably my favorite part of the movie, and had they developed a story around him, it could have been a good movie. But
that's all Dave Filoni wanted to hear. He's like, all right, we're good. This is all I wanted.
It's like they just gave us like the smallest little nuggets of. You called it a character arc, and I think that's very generous. It was just a surprising character start point with the same character end point.
Yeah.
It wasn't an arc. It didn't develop or change, and we didn't learn any more about it after the first line from Rotta.
I agree.
But it was an interesting place for that character to be.
I think what surprised me was I thought he was going to turn consistently. I thought he was going to be bad or whatever, and then I thought he was going to die, and then...
Or I kept thinking that Colonel Ward was going to turn, because we talked about how there was no villain in this movie, and how they have to inject some story at some point. Well, lo and behold, they just don't.
The villains were the twins, though, right? Like the entire time. Like
they were, but they were uninteresting.
Which is crazy that they killed them off, right? Again, that was a Filoni thing with the Clone Wars, and then they killed the twins off.
Yeah, and they were in the Book of Boba Fett too.
Yeah,
they were in the Clone Wars. The twins?
Yeah, right?
I don't think
was it
so.
them specifically? A lot of the Hutts were, because they went to Nal Hutta.
I'm pretty sure they were in the Clone Wars.
When they were tracking Zero?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
The Hutt.
Zero the Hutt, yeah.
Yeah, but we go to Nal Hutta and we see other Hutts as well.
I don't think...
I mean, there's like an entire council of Hutts at one point.
I remember that. Yeah.
Where else were they then? I mean, they're in the animated...
Because that Hutt council is slaughtered by Vader in the comics, and obviously the twins aren't, so I don't think they were part of the council. I thought they were more estranged.
Oh, you know what? And maybe that wasn't Nal Hutta that they went to. Where did they go?
Nar Shaddaa would be the other place.
Let's do
that
the
I would
Googles.
guess.
Might have been Nar Shaddaa.
I'm due
So
for
yeah,
a rewatch of the Clone Wars.
Maybe
my
the
son,
twins weren't in the Clone Wars.
my son is nearly old enough to watch it with me, so I'm waiting.
Maybe
but
they were just in. Maybe they were just in the Book of Boba Fett.
I was not surprised that they killed them off. They were nothing in the Book of Boba Fett and nothing in this movie. I was
Yeah, no, they
uninterested in their
appropriately killed
story. Calling it a story with them is generous. They hired Mando for a job. He doubled back, and they were mad, and so they sent another bounty hunter after him, and they were going to kill him. That's.
They did have multiple lines in hindsight that are like, oh, that could have been like an interesting emotional
No, I'm an idiot.
aspect to the
Just
story.
for Boba Fett, sorry.
Interesting. That could have been a more interesting emotional storyline if they had like kind of set it up earlier and then had like a full resolution to it. So one of them is what I said earlier with the old defending the young and then the young defending the old, and that idea of passing the torch down. Maybe they could have leaned more into that. And then the other thing with Rotta the Hutt, like being like, oh, I'm my own person. I don't want to live in the shadow of my father, which also could have been a kind of a fun commentary on Star Wars in general, wanting, a movie like this to stand on its own. But then the last one was the one that Colonel Ward said to Mandalorian at the very end of the film, which I really liked when... what did she say? She called him something, and then he said, "I'm an independent contractor."
Yeah.
And she said, "Sure you are."
She said, "We take care of our own."
Yeah, we take care of our own. He said, "I'm an independent contractor." Sure you are. Like, I like that moment. And then Grogu gives his little salute, like, hell yeah. Like, I like that too. If there was like a little beat of like him, like, fighting against the New Republic a little bit and being like, no, I'm my own person. And then this kind of moment at the end coming full circle of him being like, oh, okay, basically I'm New Republic. Yeah, there could have been something like that in hindsight, I suppose. But
some sort of decision-making process from at least one of the characters at some point.
The one thing that two quick things too that I feel like semi-relate is one of them is I thought it was very funny where he's like, I'll take out every person in your deck of cards, and then he does the one mission, he goes back and says, I'm taking a break. Like instantly after the first one we see, like, what the, I'm kind of tired.
The episode divisions were very clear.
Yes.
You pointed out to me as well, like right at that moment,
Yeah.
you're like, all right, this is episode 2.
Yep, yeah.
Yes.
And the thing is, again, what this movie really is a little confusing. I'm glad. I think this is the best Mandalorian Din Djarin himself has been, because he's able to actually walk alone by himself that is not relying on anything else. And it's like him and Grogu have like such a good... Grogu getting a little older, like being able to hop around and being able to like be by himself is really nice. And like him... They have like a good feng shui now. Like Grogu's gonna go do something, and then he's gonna like hop on his back randomly and then the raw. Like they have a good nice language like that. But there is something very much missing, which is like Bo-Katan, Boba Fett.
I thought for sure Bo-Katan was going to be in this movie.
Obviously Grief Karga, which is going to be no longer. But I was like, at first I was like, oh, is Ward supposed to be Grief Karga? But obviously the answer is no, because New Republic, whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's being a mayor.
I was surprised when we went back to Navarro, which I shouldn't have been because we knew that we go to Navarro. We talked about that when we had our episode after the trailer. It looked like it had, again, been built up more than the last time we saw it, which is typical. But we didn't get to see Cara Dune, obviously, for the last season also. And this time we didn't get to see Grief Karga either. And it's like, damn, this place doesn't feel like home anymore. This is just a place, just like any other place.
Yeah. That was that
Maybe
aspect.
that's the point.
Ooh.
It's not a good point. And if it was, they
No, it's home
left
with
it
the
on
New
the table.
Republic.
I think that aspect is missing a bit, where it's like, I like this solo adventure, but again, I don't know what this movie was set up to be, right? And I think it's pretty clear now, just to be like, this is a movie to, like you said, Max, to prime people to get back in theaters.
Yeah, if you're saying that it could be a meta commentary on Rotta talking about not wanting to live in Jabba's shadow of the new movies, not wanting to live in the shadow of the old movies, that it's the exact opposite. This would be the equivalent. This movie would be the equivalent of Rotta digging up Jabba's grave and literally hiding behind him and approaching people and saying, "I am Jabba the Hutt."
I feel like that's kind of what the sequel trilogy people view as, though.
Yeah, this movie absolutely wants to live in the shadow of the original Star Wars movies.
But that's what makes it interesting because, for better or worse, it is a franchise and it is kind of all grouped together. So when we talk about like, oh, is it like the worst Star Wars movie or anything? It's like, well, that's hard to say because I watch different Star Wars movies for different reasons.
But not
so
the
it's
worst.
like,
Just your least favorite.
is it? But that's the question. Like, is it my least favorite? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's the best, but I also don't think Phantom Menace is the best.
Yeah.
So it's like I will want to watch this when I want to turn my brain off and just see some great action.
Yeah, that's a good good qualifier because this movie was technically well made. Like the directing and but there's no plot, so I guess I can't really say that. Attack of the Clones I genuinely think is like a poorly made movie. I still like it for a lot of different reasons. But if someone asked me, like, gun to my head, what's the worst Star Wars movie? I feel like I would have to say Attack of the Clones. But this is by far my least favorite.
Yes, and I will go back to the very first thing I said about playing with action figures because I'm an adult and I don't get to play with action figures like I used to when I was a kid. When I get the urge to play with action figures, this will be the movie that I put on.
Just play with action figures, man.
They're on display.
They're
encased.
That's the move. I don't know. Maybe I play with action figures too much. I have kids. I play with my kids' action figures with them. Yeah. You have kids.
Yeah, they're mostly girls.
Girls like Star Wars too.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this movie again to see if it gets how it feels. Because again, part of it was I don't know. It was so fun to watch, and I'm so excited to watch it again to be like.
I agree.
Knowing what happens.
My out of theater reaction was overall negative. My overall review of the movie might not be as negative.
Yeah, because. I will say, even when I rewatch it, I have the feeling that there is nothing that I'm going to dislike when I watch it. It is definitely a movie that you get out of afterwards and you start thinking about it and you're just like, so what happened exactly?
Yeah.
You know? So
that's
it's the opposite of the sequels, really. Like The Last Jedi. This podcast loves The Last Jedi. We're big Last Jedi defenders. But there are still aspects of it that I don't love that I just kind of come to accept. And then I'm like, okay, I know this part's going to happen, so I can kind of not care so much when it does and just appreciate the high highs for what they are. And I feel like this movie doesn't have any low lows on screen. It's just off screen. It's just like, well, why didn't you guys like actually do anything into it?
The ceiling isn't nearly as high for it. This is what I think is well, right? The basis is pretty low in comparison. It's a pretty low ceiling in comparison to those other movies.
I want to listen to the music again because
the music was great.
Ludwig Göransson did it, and I really liked the Mandalorian stuff that he did. I did not have any reaction to the music on this.
Until the credits.
Until the last
every single one of us had a reaction to. Was it the last one?
The last two, yeah.
Yeah,
it was not the first credits song, but there was another one that came on, and all three of us were like, was this in the film? This is a great song.
Yes.
Yeah, that was wild. All right. Any other final thoughts, reactions to The Mandalorian and Grogu? Overall, I would say it met my expectations.
If we're going by expectations, it fell far below my expectations. But stay tuned for our official review because I am not committing to this take for all time, even though I'm putting this opinion on the internet tonight.
For me, it actually exceeded my expectations from what I thought it was going to be. I told you earlier today, Max, I was like, I'm not totally sure how I feel about this going into it. And it exceeded. There's some rough parts, I think, ultimately, but I enjoyed it. So in that regard, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Big surprise. I like Star Wars. Who would have thought?
Yes, we all like Star Wars. Important clarifier. I don't think anyone who listens to this podcast doesn't think so, though. Anyway, does anyone have any Force for Thought?
I do. And we were talking about Attack of the Clones a good bit in this episode. So I'm glad to tie it back because I was watching Attack of the Clones, a movie very, I think, overhated for its use of CG. I don't mind its over-reliance or reliance of CGI. However, the sequence with Zam Wessel being a changeling, the idea of a changeling, super interesting. The result of her being a stupid human girl the whole time we see her, except for that one time she looks to her side and after she dies, lot of meat left on that bone. A changeling is super cool, and she might as well have been a human.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for the time, she's in it so little. I feel like you need to just have some sort of recognizable face. But so much cooler when she's not a human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But make her like lots of different things. There's a lot of off-screen her sneaking around the Outrider Club, and it's like just have a different alien walk around and say that this is Zam. Put some purple on her. And
I still think she's trying to blend in, right? She's trying to look as like normal as possible, and I think for the audience to buy that in.
And if she was walking around as a Trandoshan, it's a little easier.
Yeah.
But then you would just change into a human. I don't what
a different human. That'd be fine too. I thought that she did very little changing for being a changeling.
Well, that's why she got, you know? She got caught by Obi-Wan, and then she got by Jango Fett. So she really is just bad at her job is what it comes down to.
Imagine how easy it would be to blend into a crowded bar when you can change into a different
she messed
person.
You can't change your clothes though.
Get naked. I don't care.
I mean, she had a curtain on front of her face.
I would sneak away from Anakin and Obi-Wan so easily, given that power set and that opportunity.
I so badly just want like green screen you just walking naked throughout the scene, like very slowly lumbering nakedly through it.
Just
Well, I can't change. I would only get naked if I could change into a different species.
And then we can cover you very tactfully by someone passing a death stick as you walk by.
the Matt Lewis special editions. Instead of having a giant creature randomly cross in front of the camera, it's just Luke swinging dong.
Yeah. You're running. You know how those, that cool shot in Mandalorian Grogu when his feet step in the puddles and you see the reflection. That's like you, but your sack does that.
Well, there's our Force for Thought to consider until next week. Thanks for listening, and let us know what you thought about Mandalorian and Grogu. You can reach out to us on email at forceforthought@gmail.com or on social media. And stay tuned for next week with when we review the movie in a more official capacity after a rewatch or two.
And comment if you think which one of us you think looks like Kit Fisto. See you, Sammy.
You know who you are.
Yes, yeah. Every week.